Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Information Warfare Pavilion. My government cell phone told me it is 1:30, and we know that for sure because the time for that comes from the U.S. Naval Observatory's clock that belongs to the information warfare community. And we believe in precision, navigation, and timing, so we start on time in the Information Warfare Pavilion. So happy to have with us this afternoon Rear Admiral Michael Brooks. He's the commander of the Office of Naval Intelligence and the director of the National Maritime Intelligence Integration Office. And he's been in that position since July. He's a 1987 graduate of Cal Poly State University, and he got a master's from the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, so out here in California for all your schooling. His bio's online. I'm not going to read it. There's too many interesting tours operationally and staff jobs that he's had. Career intelligence officer by background, and we're happy to have him come to the stage and talk to you today. Admiral?
Good afternoon, everybody. Mike Brooks, Commander of Office of Naval Intelligence, and I'm very excited to speak to you in the coveted post-lunch block. I'll begin by thanking Vice Admiral Ashbeck and Ms. Liz Nashhold for asking me to speak with you today. I would also like to thank AFCEA and the U.S. Naval Institute for bringing us all together once again for this amazing opportunity to collaborate on matters that will enable us to create and sustain warfighting advantages in this rapidly changing security environment. I'm pretty pleased to be able to talk about my job as the commander of the Office of Naval Intelligence, the mission of the Office of Naval Intelligence. I'm going to say ONI for short, otherwise it'll be a really long presentation if I say Office of Naval Intelligence each time. The capabilities we bring to bear to support global naval operations and how I prioritize the efforts of ONI. I'm going to talk for a bit, not the entire 45 minutes, thankfully, I'm sure. My goal is to keep you all enthralled and sitting on the edge of your seat. If I fail in that endeavor, I'd ask you to remember three things, all about the Office of Naval Intelligence. First, longest continually active member of the intelligence community, we are preeminent experts on maritime intelligence for both the Navy and the nation. So all things maritime, above the sea, on the surface, and below the surface, subsurface, seabed. Maritime matters to not only the citizens of this great country, but to everyone in the world. Hold that thought. I will attempt to wax poetically on that at a later moment. The second thing I'd ask you to remember is that the sun never sets on ONI's efforts. That is, while we're located in Washington, D.C., ONI has a worldwide focus, supporting U.S. Navy fleets in multiple areas of responsibility while deploying personnel to disparate locations across the globe. On any given day, there are approximately 200 ONI personnel permanently assigned, deployed, or supporting direct engagements around the world. And the final thing I'd ask you to remember is we operate across the spectrum of conflict. In peacetime, we delineate adversary weapon systems and capabilities in order to inform the Navy's development and acquisition process. In crisis, we seek to identify opportunities, activities, and investments to deter adversaries. And the event conflict comes, we are determined to provide war-winning intelligence. So that's the big three: maritime subject expertise, global intelligence operations, spanning the spectrum of conflict. With that covered, let's turn to ONI's mission. Formal mission statement reads, ONI collects, analyzes, and produces maritime intelligence, disseminating it rapidly to strategic, operational, tactical decision makers to meet national, DoD, Navy, and intelligence community requirements. That's a pretty straightforward mission statement. From my perspective, one of the key pieces of that is the maritime aspect. It's what makes ONI unique. It certainly ties us to the Navy, and it also cements our importance to the nation writ large. And why is that, you ask? Well, let's review some fun facts about the maritime domain. It's massive, covers 71% of the globe. The main transport for global trade is ocean shipping. Around 90% of traded goods are carried over the waves. 71% of U.S. trade in goods, at least by tonnage, is transported by maritime means. 95% of international data and voice transfers are currently routed through the many fiber optic cables that crisscross the world's seafloors. So if you're a citizen of this nation, even if you reside in landlocked Omaha, Nebraska, I have resided in landlocked Omaha, Nebraska. It's a great place if you haven't visited. Just don't go in February. Your daily life is affected by what occurs in the maritime domain. Here's a couple of more fun facts on why maritime matters. These are related to our adversaries. So in October 2022, General Secretary Xi stated that China intends to complete its plan to modernize the People's Liberation Army by 2027 to be prepared, if ordered, to forcefully unify with Taiwan. 2027. That's 1,053 days from now. A blink of an eye. While focused on deterring conflict, the U.S. Navy spends a lot of time thinking about and preparing to defeat aggression from the PRC. If a conflict occurs, it will be a maritime fight. What about our other strategic competitors, the Russians? Although they have their hands full on the ground with their invasion of Ukraine, the bulk of their Navy, the Northern Fleet and the Pacific Fleet, remain untouched. More importantly, the Russian Navy remains the greatest threat to the U.S. in the undersea domain. Finally, I probably don't have to remind you what the Iranians and the Houthis are doing in the Middle East to impede commercial shipping. In short, what happens in the maritime domain matters significantly, hence the value of the U.S. Navy. And ONI's maritime intelligence matters to the U.S. Navy operations today, and through our support to acquisition community to the future fleet. At this point, I'd like to take a few moments to discuss how the Office of Naval Intelligence is organized to deliver the intelligence needed by the Navy and the nation. A little bit of ONI 101, if you will. But first, I'm going to review our value proposition. The U.S. Navy capable of preserving the peace, responding in crisis, and winning decisively in war requires high-quality, time-relevant maritime intelligence. ONI delivers the war-winning maritime expertise that promotes our nation's prosperity and security, deters aggression, and provides options to leaders. In doing so, we empower warfighters and decision-makers, from the fleet on up to National Command Authority. We are a force multiplier, providing a wide variety of functions critical to the fleet, including intelligence to support, technical intelligence, foreign Navy exercise reconstruction, red versus blue tactics, intelligence support to Navy joint and allied wargaming, fleet red team analytic support, and strategic and operational warfare analysis. And our deployed personnel are embedded with the fleet, intelligence community, and some allies, providing mission-enhancing, long-term trend analysis and expertise in support of operations. So ONI is headquartered at the National Maritime Intelligence Center in Suitland, Maryland, just outside Washington, D.C., and it's comprised of my staff and 5 subordinate commands. ONI and its subordinate commands operate synergistically, and each has well-defined areas of responsibility and deep expertise. And then ONI staff provides enabling functions to keep the enterprise and the Navy's largest secure compartmented intelligence facility running. And those include things that you might expect: human resources, contracting, facilities, security, analysis, production and dissemination, information technology, cybersecurity, program management, and analytic tool development. I'll spend a little bit of time on program management and tool development at this juncture because we brought some of our ONI staff experts here to West to demo some of our tools for you. Specifically, the Naval Intelligence Cloud Ecosystem, or NCE, the ONI Repository for Characterization of the Adversary, or ORCA, and ONI's Worldwide Archive to Establish Trends, or War Chest. So NCE involves a unified vision and framework for the naval intelligence community to rapidly adopt and use cloud and service applications to enable analysis, exploitation, and dissemination of critical intelligence in a timely manner to our customers around the world. It's a secure multi-domain cloud environment that enables clients to develop capabilities to securely analyze and respond to current and evolving threats, scale computing power based on demand, and develop and release new capabilities in production, quickly leveraging commercial cloud best practices. That's NCE. Orca is our cloud-based knowledge environment designed to host intelligence data and automate the delivery of threat intelligence. It's our IT solution to provide the fleet with digital threat platform, weapons, and sensor characteristics and performance data. In near term, Orca will support and streamline naval intelligence data workflow, enabling consumers around the world to access vital intelligence in a structured and secure cloud environment, all via browser. Longer term, Orca will integrate other tools and databases across DoD and IC, supporting modeling and simulation in a cohesive framework in both cloud-enabled and degraded or denied environments. Finally, War Chest, a naval intelligence mission application designed to help analysts and decision makers rapidly validate and operationalize maritime mission behavior data. It makes archived data more accessible, secure, and ready for emerging artificial intelligence or machine learning services through a cloud-native solution. War Chest is scalable, fully deployable to disconnected networks, that is, ships underway and in restricted communications conditions, and it's the first maritime intelligence app or pathfinder and pacesetter for data modernization via NCE. I highly recommend you stop by the ONI booth for a demonstration on these capabilities and talk to our experts and learn about them, and you will find them directly behind me. Now moving on to from the ONI staff to our 5 commands. I'll run through them fairly quickly. So I'll begin with Farragut Technical Analysis Center, named for Admiral David G. Farragut, who achieved fame for leading Union naval forces to victory during the Civil War. Farragut conducts engineering-level characterization of adversary naval systems, including analyzing the signatures, characteristics, and performance data of foreign naval platforms, weapon systems, and sensors. Admiral Farragut's known for his well-known words of, "Damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead." But that did not necessarily represent a reckless disregard for the safety of his men. In fact, during the Battle of Mobile Bay, Farragut had sent a reconnaissance mission on small boats to inspect the mines, then called torpedoes. Knowing his fleet's draft, along with the depth and location and condition of the mines, allowed him to use the tide and a pre-planned route to evade the threat and secure decisive victory for the Union. Like its namesake, ONI's Farragut Center provides the scientific and technical assessments of adversary systems to enable decision advantage for the Navy. Farragut also conducts all-source analysis of command, control, communications, computers, combat systems, and intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, targeting. You know that better by its acronym C5ISRT. It also does work with electronic warfare and cyber developments to provide critical intelligence of adversarial non-kinetic threats that may directly affect our naval forces and naval operations. Farragut is home to our National Acoustic Intelligence Library. It characterizes acoustic fingerprints of foreign naval systems. The NAIL, as we call it, is the National Center and Validation Authority for Hydroacoustic Intelligence and Analysis. Related, Farragut is the home to our Acoustic Intelligence Specialists, also known as ACINT Riders, an elite force that must undergo a rigorous 2-year training program to qualify. And they serve at ONI as on-call experts, advisors, and instructors, backed by analysts and a vast acoustic intelligence database. Finally, the Navy's Foreign Material Exploitation Lab is also in Farragut. It conducts an engineering-level assessment of foreign weapon systems, sensors, components, and foreign commercial items with potential military applications. The lab's engineers directly inform Navy and DoD acquisition community decisions on key adversary capabilities and how to develop countermeasures. We refer to this aspect of Farragut's mission as what they fight with. The second command I'll reference is Nimitz Warfare Analysis Center. It provides operational and strategic analysis of adversary naval forces, warfighting doctrine, and their naval warfare tactics, techniques, and procedures. Nimitz is named for Fleet Admiral Chester W. Nimitz, who used operational intelligence to engage and defeat the Imperial Japanese Navy during World War II. The command, Nimitz, develops deep operational knowledge of the adversary, particularly China and Russia, to understand how the adversary will fight. To do this, Nimitz uses a blended composite warfare and regional threat construct that leverages the tactical expertise of fleet experienced submarine, air, surface, and information warfare officers and sailors who work alongside a cadre of civilians and contractors. Nimitz supports Navy and Joint Force operational commanders, mission planners, naval warfighting development centers, and the intelligence community by injecting deep knowledge of the adversary's capabilities and strategic intent. They provide event and exercise reconstructions, behavioral modeling, innovative approaches to data-centric analysis that provide insights and analysis and empower customers to develop our own tactics, techniques, and procedures, adjust operational plans, acquire countermeasures, and anticipate an adversary's actions. That's 2 of the 5, 3 to go. Hang in there with me. Next up, Kennedy Maritime Analysis Center. They are the hub for all things civil maritime. It's named for President John F. Kennedy, who served in the U.S. Navy in World War II and briefly at ONI. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, Kennedy relied on the expertise of ONI analysts to inform national policy and enable operations, actions, and investments which diffused the crisis and deterred our adversaries. Today, Kennedy delivers decision advantage by illuminating and enabling disruption of adversary influence in the maritime domain. They do this through diplomatic, information, military, and economic actions, largely in partner with others in the DoD, intelligence community, and the interagency. Kennedy monitors and reports key aspects of civil maritime activity while enabling options to constrain the adversary. For instance, the effects of a crisis activity on the civil maritime industry, like the grain corridor in the Black Sea or Houthi attacks in the Red Sea. Kennedy is providing the analytics on the impact of these actions as well as the vulnerabilities of the adversary that inform sanctions and lethal aid interdictions decisions. Kennedy is looking at ways the adversary is leveraging economic maritime strategies for global effect. Think the PRC's expansion through port infrastructure, technologies, and implications of global illegal, unregulated, and unreported fishing. Separately and distinctly, Kennedy detects, monitors, and supports the disruption of drug networks and transnational organized crime groups operating in the maritime environment. Finally, Kennedy maintains an operational capability as its military and civilian and analytic professionals deploy globally to enable operations. Their customers range from Navy Fleet headquarters to tactical units of action and others as necessary. Now turning to Hopper Global Communications Center. They deliver secure, global, sensitive compartmented information and controlled access program communications and IT services to Navy shore activities, and they enable afloat connectivity to partner nations through coalition intelligence sharing systems. Hopper's namesake is Rear Admiral Grace M. Hopper. She was an accomplished mathematician and a lifelong leader in the field of computer science. Hopper Center is our mission enabler that ensures the rapid dissemination of intelligence to the strategic, operational, and tactical decision makers. They are the sole provider of Navy JWIC services for 8 maritime operations centers worldwide, and that, as you can imagine, is no small task. They also supply, repair, and modernize computer hardware and software used by afloat Navy units, and they process over 12,000 JWICS trouble calls per year and deploy teams globally for SCI information technology break and fix issues. Hopper also provides cybersecurity, defensive cyber operations, cyber incident management, and they certify Navy ashore and fleet SCI systems, all the while evaluating and adopting cutting-edge information technology for transition into naval intelligence. And finally, Hopper processes and delivers all fleet SCI message traffic. Last but not least, Brooks Center for Maritime Engagement. They specialize in multidiscipline collection operations, delivering strategic advantage against strategic competitors. Different Brooks, no E. Brooks is named for Rear Admiral Thomas Brooks, the 54th Director of Naval Intelligence, who developed and directed programs and initiatives that substantially improved the quality, productivity, efficiency, and responsiveness of naval intelligence. Brooks Center for Maritime Excellence specializes in collecting information using multiple capabilities to deliver strategic advantage and increase the lethality of our Navy. They also address the Navy's priority strategic information requirements and identify opportunities to increase interconnectedness throughout the intelligence community. It's our newest center, but it is made up of seasoned professionals that have developed and set the standard for comprehensive global collection operations to answer the Navy's highest priority collection requirements. The primary focus is on science and technology, fleet support, operations and cyber, sensitive activities, support to open source intelligence, and foreign language translation. So that's ONI in a nutshell. You have a better idea of how ONI's organization and their capabilities. At this point, I'd like to share with you my approach and priorities to deliver a maritime decision advantage. This morning, the Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral Franchetti, discussed her strategic priorities. ONI is aligned to her emphasis of warfighting, warfighters, and foundation. Warfighting from an ONI perspective is delivering timely analysis, war communications capabilities to drive Navy operations. Warfighters, again from ONI's perspective, are resourced, trained, and experienced analysts, or again communicators, that deliver decision advantage. And foundation, that's the CNO's term, I kind of like to refer to it as the engine room or the power plant. It's the physical infrastructure at the National Maritime Intelligence Center that enables all of the above: the networks, the physical security, uninterrupted power supply. They're not at the forefront of everybody's mind, but they are critical to mission success. Given the CNO's emphasis on warfighting, warfighters, and foundation, this is how I prioritize ONI's effort. First of all, know the adversary. ONI enables decisive combat power by providing deep understanding of adversary naval weapons capabilities, operations, and tactics. They provide global situational awareness of civil maritime activities and enable warfighting advantage in the critical undersea domain. Knowing the adversary also means focusing on the unique things that only ONI can do. Knowing the adversary and how they will fight will be crucial in the event of conflict. Second priority is deter the adversary. We are driving intelligence partnerships and identifying opportunities to expose malign adversary actions below the threshold of conflict to enable countervailing fleet operations, activities, and investments. The intent is to deter in the gray zone or crisis, preventing an escalation to conflict. On this front, we're also seeking to expand and empower relationships with international allies and partners across the IC, DoD, Navy, and Joint Force. And then finally, build warfighting advantage. Hire, train, and retain our world-class workforce, leveraging the unique expertise of our reserves. Deliver resilient and ready JWICs and controlled access, the networks the fleet relies upon. And provide easy access to our insight and the data the warfighter needs to prevail. So in conclusion, ONI works daily to deliver decision advantage as far to the left of crisis as possible. However, we must ensure we are ready for conflict at any time, as we recognize our adversaries always get a vote. Every one of us, sailors, civilians, contractors, reservists, are warfighters long before combat arises. And as warfighters, we must continue to sharpen our understanding of our adversaries and utilize new tools, innovations to maintain our edge over strategic competitors. I want each of our adversaries to wake up every morning and calculate the risk and decide that today is not the day. Not the day to pick a fight with the most powerful Navy in the U.S. The most powerful Navy in the world, the U.S. Navy. ONI has a critical role in frustrating their calculations and working with allies and industry partners to ensure our adversaries never get the solution that they desire. Finally, I'd like to leave you with the big three. ONI is all things maritime, and maritime matters to all. Second, we deliver war-winning maritime expertise and decision advantage across the globe. Third, we operate across the spectrum of conflict, delivering maritime intelligence in peace and crisis with the intent to deter, but if push comes to shove, we will provide war-winning intelligence in a fight. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir. We have a little bit of time to take some questions, so I will facilitate. Start over here.
Hi, Sam LeGrone from USNA News. How you doing today?
Hi, Sam.
So in the 80s, collectively the Pentagon put out the Soviet military power, which was a pretty detailed understanding of the Russian threat and what they had to present, and that went a long way in sort of invigorating an argument for a stronger defense at the time. Y'all haven't put out a good PLAN overview in quite some time. And that was a really useful document. I think 16 was the last time it came out. Are there any plans for y'all to come out with some sort of equivalent document or some kind of overview of that? So there's a lot of stuff in the open source. I'm sure there's an unclassed version if y'all could provide that. Thank you.
So short answer, Stan, is yes. Longer answer is recognize, what I hear you saying is that there's an importance of us being able to talk about this issue at the unclassified level, and we recognize that, and we're actually working on an updated version of that. I don't have specifics on when it's released, but I expect it to be sometime later this year. I share your interest in being able to talk about these issues at a unclassified level to not only inform leaders in that type of forum, but also the general public.
Okay.
Thank you. Patrick Tucker from Defense One. Good to see you, Admiral. One of the things that former CNO Gilday and others have talked about with a lot of focus is China's use of mercantile vessels and non-military vessels as part of broader gray zone operations. And so understanding we're in an open forum, I wonder if you could remark on some of the most significant trends you've seen there over the past year and what your expectations are for the year ahead in terms of some of that activity.
Yeah. So we spend a lot of time carefully watching adversary activities and exercises, operations, and as they fold civil maritime units into those exercises and operations, it greatly increases our interest in what they're doing. And so we spend a lot of time focusing on that and attempting to extrapolate what that means for future capabilities. Is there, I'm sorry.
Remarkable that you might want to touch on?
Is there something specific you're referring to?
Well, no, that would be you referring to the specific thing and me fishing for it.
Okay. No, I think probably the things that we're most concerned about in the future is how is China going to affect a forcible unification with Taiwan? And so how would they do that? And so what capabilities would they bring to bear in that regard? And so as we watch how they exercise for that type of operation, and we look and see what capabilities they bring to bear, some of which may include civil maritime.
Next question.
Hey, good afternoon, sir. Lieutenant Governor Tillis. I was a SWO for 12 years, a maritime space officer now. So as a prior SWO, the ONI Smart Book was like the Bible for all the TAOs. Fantastic product. I was wondering if there's any discussion to make something like that for space assets, one for at the GenSer and one at the TS level. I tend to find things on unclassified news or everything on JWIX, but there's no kind of happy medium where the warfighter sitting TAO kind of has access to some of that information.
I am not tracking one to do so, but we will take a note. I think that's a great idea.
Next question.
Thank you. Dick Para, the Institute for Defense Analyses. I wonder if you'd comment on ONI's relationships with allies and partners. Allies and partners are very prominently put in the National Defense Strategy as something very important to the Department of Defense. And I wonder if you'd comment on what ONI is doing with allies and partners, not only the obvious ones like the United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia, but some of the non-traditional ones, some of which are threatened by China.
Thanks for the question, Dick. The CNO talked earlier this morning about the U.S. Navy being the premier fighting force in the world, and sort of the tangible things that make us a powerful Navy. Our people, experience as a global naval force, and then she also alludes to the value of allies and partners. I think that's really what sets us aside from other navies in the world, particularly the People's Liberation Army Navy. That's a significant aspect that we have going for us. But it's not just our traditional partners like the Five Eyes partners. We have relationships. ONI specifically has relationships with many nations across the globe, and then particularly in the Indo-PACOM AOR that we partner with and share information with them, and it's a force multiplier.
Okay, sir, we have a question for you from the back.
Thanks, sir. Will Swan with Watershed Security. A bit of a different question. I realize that there's times when things have to go behind the wall, and we all need to have the proper clearance levels to be able to address those. But from an industry perspective, in helping us to be more responsive to government and the national security initiatives, is there any thought process around, especially around all source, open source intel activities, being able to have a lower classification for support for those efforts where it really doesn't need to be at the full scope level type stuff? Over.
So I think the first question I received today was talking about an ONI handbook, talking about Chinese naval capabilities and the value that has. And so there's actually I found a great value in being able to do the intelligence analysis at the highest possible classification level, but then be able to disseminate it at the secret level for most of the warfighters, or at an unclassified level in support of some partners and to inform the public. And so we work toward that goal, get the answer right at the highest possible classification level, but be able to disseminate it at subsequently at lower levels. A lot of value in being able to disseminate at that level. We're also pursuing tools which allow us to make that a little bit more easy, such as commercially available imagery or commercially available applications.
We have some more time for questions. Anybody else? No? Oh.
Hi, Admiral. Richard Scott from Janes. I'd like to know how much of a problem it is for you now in terms of the democratization and proliferation of commercially available technologies, which adversaries can very quickly adapt, spiral, update, use against you.
Is there a specific technology that you're referring to, or?
Drones could be.
Yeah. So I think let's use drones as an example. So we're seeing a prevalence of use of drones in warfare, whether it's Russia, Ukraine, or whether it's the Houthis in the Red Sea. I wouldn't call it a revolution in warfare, more like an evolution. And so we're very interested in how our adversaries are using tactics and techniques and procedures to use those drones to complement more traditional military activities, whether it's cruise missiles or anti-ship ballistic missiles. So from one aspect, we're interested at ONI with how they fight with these weapon systems, but I'm also actually interested in getting a hold of those weapon systems to be able to exploit them and understand them and be able to help the U.S. military develop countermeasures to defeat them.
This one might be easy. So Some Houthi commanders have threatened to destroy undersea communications cables in the Red Sea. In your opinion, is that a realistic threat?
I mean, yeah, I'm not sure that it is.
Not sure that is.
I'm not so sure that it is. No.
Thank you, Admiral Stone Davis. Could you talk a little bit about your relationship between ONI and Fleet Cyber, and especially Fleet Cyber's intelligence functions?
Yeah, so we work fairly closely with Fleet Cyber on both identifying threats to the Navy writ large, but also how we protect and defend our own networks. And so we work very closely in that regard.
Any additional questions? No? Yeah? Okay. Well, thank you, sir, for your time.
Thank you, ladies
Thank you
and
all
gentlemen.
for your questions.